efficiency and consistency of a maximum likelihood estimator. In the process of that, we will see Kramer-Rao lower bound. That one is a very celebrated kind of lower bound. You will see it here. It is defined with the help of information matrix or information. We will see those kind of approach, how we can calculate information matrix with respect to a distribution with unknown mean or parameter, unknown parameter, mean or variance, something like that. So here, coming to outline of today's talk, first I would like to establish what is a efficient estimator and how it is related with the Kramer-Rao lower bound. Okay, so this one is very much celebrated kind of concept there in statistics. Afterward, I will talk about consistency of Emily. So here, in order to establish this one, we need to understand a very interesting kind of concept that we are calling it information matrix. That kind of things we will see it, and how to compute it with respect to any kind of distribution where parameter would be not given. So in last class and few of class I had already mentioned that here if why we are doing all these. Here in this module we are having sample, we don't know the distribution, true distribution. That's why we are coming with some kind of hypothesis function or assumption or model structure, that we say that data might be generated from Gaussian, data might be generated from binomial, data might be generated from exponential. So based on some prior knowledge or prior experience, we can say that that kind of thing would be one hypothesis, hypothetical distribution function. So hypothetical distribution function is not involving true explicit value of the parameter, that mean and variance kind of thing. So it is having parameter which is unknown to us, we have to estimate it with the help of some kind of model structure. So that's why I used to say the hypothesis function. If you try to talk from general perspective, you can call that one is a model structure. So whether what kind of model structure you are putting, it depends upon your experience. Okay, so we'll see a lot of things here. So coming to first part, that how we can establish the efficiency of an maximum likelihood estimator and how it is related with Kramer-Rao lower bound. So those things will, so lower bound it is provided by Kramer-Rao. Okay, so that we will see it here first. Afterward I will talk about further things. So coming to Kramer-Rao lower bound, how it is related with efficient estimator. So we will see it like this way. So here Kramer-Rao lower bound, it describes a lower bound on the variance of estimator. So all about we know that we don't have to worry about expectation of an estimator. We know that in the large run, that means when sample size is very large, then from the properties of estimator, we know that it will what? It would be equal to theta. If we come to know the distribution of the estimator theta, then we know that estimation of this one would be expectation of the estimator would be theta. That we know. Okay, so it is very much clear. So what about variance? There is a issue with variance. So that's why we have to talk about some kind of bound over variance. That bound is coming directly from, if we don't know the distribution of this estimator theta hat, capital theta hat, then how we can calculate variance? That variance is very complicated kind of a structure in order to compute this variance. So if when we are not able to compute the variance, we have to find some kind of bound. That bound, you can say that probabilistic bound, some kind of. So what would be this? So this here we can find a bound of this one, lower bound. It would be bounded below by some quantity that would be given by Kramer-Rao bound. Okay, so how it is defined? So suppose we are having a data is coming from some distribution and whose parameter is unknown to us. So and suppose that parameter, unknown parameter is theta, so how we can find the bound over variance? So bound over variance we can get it through like this way, the ratio of a square of expectation of first derivative of expectation divided by what we call it divided by information matrix. This is information matrix. We are defining in several perspectives. One of them is that how we define it in this information matrix. We define it like this way: negative of expectation of second derivative of log likelihood function. Second, remember that second derivative of log likelihood function. So this likelihood function, how we define, in last class we had already learned that we define it through joint distribution of that one is coming, joint probability that one is coming, or joint density that one is coming with respect to given observation. So from the given observation we are defining likelihood function where theta happens to be unknown to us. Okay, so and hence we can say that likelihood function happens to be function of the parameter theta, and here maximizing likelihood function is equivalent to maximizing log likelihood function. Why? Because both share the same argument. That in case of that, if you try to find maximum value of log likelihood and likelihood might be different, but argument would be same. That is the scenario coming here. So that's why we are here. The representation of log likelihood is simpler. It just involves separable terms due to that summation form that when we apply a logarithmic over product, it always convert into separation, and that product is coming due to that joint density representation as a product of individual densities due to IID structure over the sample that we had already seen that. Okay, and here we are, if suppose we put further condition over this estimator theta hat, capital theta hat, that suppose the capital theta hat happens to be unbiased estimator. That means if you find expectation of the estimator capital theta hat and that one is equal to true value of the parameter theta, then this lower bound, this bound, it will be simplified further, and here easily you can say that the derivative, it becomes what here when this capital theta hat is unbiased, then expectation of capital theta hat, it would be equal to theta. So we are differentiating that theta with respect to theta, so the value of that would be 1, so it would be equal to 1. Easily we can say that due to this unbiased nature of estimator, okay, corresponding estimator. So from there the bound here variance would be bounded below by 1 by I of theta, that information Fisher information. Also another name is Fisher information. Also you can say that Fisher was the person who introduced this concept. So also Fisher was the first person who introduced likelihood concept as well. So coming to describe further this Fisher information I of theta, what does it do? It measures the information carried by the observable random variable x about the unknown parameter theta. That means we are just having sample from the some unknown distribution whose parameter is unknown to us. That's why model structure might be known to us, and otherwise we can come up with model structure, but parameter is unknown to us. So for Fisher information is measuring how much information is here hidden there. So that's why this I of theta, it is very much important. I meant for information, it is taken for information. So now if once we are dividing what we are here getting a lower bound of variance of estimator by the with in term of Fisher information or information matrix, then what is happening that we have to talk about the efficiency of the corresponding estimator as well. So what is the definition of efficiency of estimator? So simply we can define in term of this Kramer law lower bound. What does it say? It says that a estimator, it would be efficient if it achieves the equality in Kramer raw lower bound. That means if variance is equal to this, variance of estimator is equal to this bound, this lower bound, then we can say that that corresponding estimator would be an efficient estimator. That means here during point estimation I had already discussed that how we define efficiency. We defined efficiency through some error criterion function, that mean square error. So we define it through mean square error, but here situation is changed. Now if you are just having idea of Kramer raw lower bound, then through that definition of efficiency is modified. It is saying that if you are having an unknown parameter theta and you come up with one kind of estimator of that theta, then when it would be efficient, it would be efficient if it achieved the equality in lower bound. That means the value of variance of estimator would be equal to this lower bound. This is the lower bound. Okay, the variance of estimator can't go below this one. This is the lower bound. Okay, simply so from here also you can say that this quantity will definitely it would be always greater than equal to 0. Okay, greater than equal to 0. So one simplest example I would like to talk about here. So suppose you are taking a sample from normal distribution whose mean is unknown. Mean is unknown. So simply we want to estimate this mean theta. Theta is the mean we want to estimate. So one that through we need to define a likelihood function. After that we do perform maximization of that likelihood function. In the process of maximization we can see this likelihood maximum likelihood estimation of this mean theta or maximum likelihood of theta is what maximum likelihood estimate of theta, it would be sample mean. This is what it is, just sample mean. It is giving sample mean. So we are here interested to find lower bound of this sample mean, variance of lower bound, not lower bound of sample mean, variance of lower bound of sample mean. So we need to find what is the lower bound of variance of sample. That how we can find it? We can find it through Cramer law, lower bound. Before going to that approach, first we need to discuss more about this Fisher information matrix, how we can calculate Fisher information matrix. So finding the lower bound of variance of estimated, it is just in case of unbiased, it is just relying on this Fisher information or information matrix. So just we need to know how to calculate this one. So just it can be calculated with the help of likelihood function itself. So one example here I am taking it simplest one. Suppose there is a data, that one is sample which is coming from Bernoulli distribution, and that distribution is unknown to us, in sense that model of structure is Bernoulli, but we don't know the parameter. What is the probability of success? That we don't know. Parameter is probability of success there in case of Bernoulli distribution. So we need to estimate that probability of success. How we can estimate? So through sampling approach. So that's why here the unknown parameter of the Bernoulli distribution we denote it by theta, and data is coming from this Bernoulli distribution. So that's why what is the hypothetical distribution of probability mass function of this x? It would be given by theta to the power x into 1 minus theta to the power 1 minus x. So similar that this one is what it is in the framework of Bernoulli probability mass function, we can see that. But here issue is that theta is unknown to us. So what would happen with the help of this hypothesis or this hypothetical probability mass function, we can define likelihood function for a single sample or a sample of size 1. Simply a sample of size 1 we are defining a likelihood function, and directly what we do, this we can say that it is acting like a likelihood function for a single sample. So I told that the argument maximum argument, the argument for which the likelihood and log likelihood is the same. The argument for which likelihood function and log likelihood function is having maxima is the same. That's why in place of this likelihood function we try to proceed with the log likelihood. So that's why we are taking log both sides. So it is taking very simple form. What does it? Right now it is product form. It is not always good to proceed with product form of the function when you do apply calculus. So when we apply a logarithm, so it just in right hand side it becomes x time log of p plus 1 minus x time log of 1 minus theta. Okay, it would be theta. Parameter is theta. Someone, if you want, you can denote it by p as well. There is no issue. So it would be p here. It means for this likelihood function. You can hypothesis first out also you can denote it by L x p1 theta. Okay, you can denote it like this. So from here what we have to do, we have to find the derivative of this log likelihood function. So first order derivative, that means derivative of this log likelihood function with respect to theta, just differentiate with respect to theta x. So what would be the derivative of log theta? It would be 1 by theta. So first term is x by theta, second term is again it is coming like this in the similar fashion. It would be 1 minus x divided by 1 minus theta. This negative sign is coming with respect to negative theta. Okay, so just you have to apply chain rule here in order to get this representation, and again you differentiate this, then you will get second derivative. Second derivative is also having very simple kind of formula. Now I had already discussed that the Fisher information or information matrix, how we define it. We define it like this way: negative of expectation of second order derivative, negative of expectation of second order derivative of log likelihood function. So here in log likelihood function we have taken this log p, that is the log likelihood function, ln of p with respect to theta. Second derivative we are taking, so theta square will come. So this is the Fisher information or information matrix. So from here we can easily calculate Fisher information. What would be that? That we have here we got the second derivative of log likelihood function. This one is like this way. Okay, and we have to find the expectation of this one, and we have to take negative. So here negative sign is it will cancel out, so only we will have that Fisher information. It would be equal to expectation of x divided by theta square. Theta square is why it is constant, it is unknown but constant with respect to here x, so that's why it will come out. It is a parameter, so it will come out from the expectation, and here it is coming directly in denominator. Likewise 1 minus theta square also it will come out, and just we have to find the expectation of x. And we know that expectation, what is expectation of x? It is actually theta. Expectation of x, it would be theta, but theta is actually parameter, that's why expectation of x would be theta. And if you simplify, you are getting a simple notation of Fisher information. That one is what? 1 by theta into 1 minus theta. Okay, this is the Fisher information. And if someone is asking what is the lower bound of variance of maximum likelihood estimate of theta, that happens to be sample mean. What is the maximum likelihood estimator of theta? That one is the sample mean. And if someone is asking what is the lower bound, here question is not that I am asking what is the variance of sample mean. I am just asking what is the lower bound of sample mean. So it would be bounded below by this 1 by this quantity. We know that sample mean happens to be an unbiased estimator, so what would be bound? It would be bounded below by theta into 1 minus theta. Theta into 1 minus theta. Variance of sample mean, it would be bounded below by theta into 1 minus theta. And here we know that further we will see that x sample mean, and also we had already seen that sample mean happens to be an efficient estimator. So and hence we can that this bound it will convert into equality because of unbiased nature and efficient nature. Okay, I will talk about further one more example for Gaussian distribution. So we are taking a Gaussian distribution whose mean is unknown to us. So we are taking data from Gaussian distribution, and in the process here mean is unknown. So we write Gaussian distribution, that hypothetical function, like this way. We are writing like this way. Here theta 1 is unknown, theta 2 is also unknown. So right now just proceed with we talk about with respect to that estimator of mean only. So we have to define likelihood function. It would be defined through that joint probability for with unknown theta, joint probability with unknown theta. Okay, so here from here we can take logarithmic of this likelihood function. So due to that, this right hand side will take very simple kind of structure like this way. Okay, from here we can easily estimate maximum likelihood estimate of theta, that happens to be mean. So that happens to be what it is. So the maximum likelihood of mean, it happens to be a sample mean. This sample mean, it is coming, you can represent it like this way, sample mean. Now again, if you differentiate with respect, here theta 1 is theta, I am calling it, that one is mean, theta 1 is the mean. So you can say that we are interested to find lower bound of variance of estimator of theta. So here somehow we come to know that what is the variance of estimator of theta, that happens to be sigma square by n. Through that large sample theory, we that time we had already seen that this is the variance of estimator of theta. Okay, so from here easily also you can derive value of Fisher information, that if you come to know that this maximum likelihood estimator is efficient and unbiased. We know that sample mean, that maximum likelihood estimator of mean, that happens to be sample mean, happens to be unbiased, and if you come to know it is also efficient, then we can easily derive uh, Fisher information. And if such information is not given, then we have to find this expectation, or this is the actually formula for finding Fisher information. So if you here just I came with our prior experience that variance of sample mean happens to be sigma square by n. That's why I have given this one. It is your homework. Find this expectation, and you will see that you will directly also get the value of Fisher information matrix. It would be what, equal to n by sigma n by sigma square you will get from. If you try to simplify this one, you will get n by sigma square directly from this calculation. So it is your homework, you can try yourself. Now I will talk one more interesting concept regarding that estimator. That one is estimator with minimum variance. That means an unbiased estimator with minimum variance. And what is the role of that Kramer law with this one? That means unbiased estimator with least variance. What kind of role that law is having? So what is meaning of least unbiased estimator with least variance, or simply you can call it minimum uh, variance unbiased estimator? So a minimum variance unbiased estimator, it is an unbiased estimator with the least variance among any other estimator of the parameter theta, any other among several. So if you take any parameter, estimator of the parameter from sample, and that would be bounded below by this one, the unbiased estimator with the least variance, so bounded below by this one. So it would directly have relation with the lower bound of the Kramer law, lower bound. So again we can say that an efficient and unbiased estimator, it happens to be unbiased estimator with least variance. So if you come to know that one estimator that one is efficient and unbiased, so easily we can say that that would be an unbiased estimator with least variance, but converse is not true. So it is also easily we can say that it is obvious from Kramer law, lower bound, that if we are taking a estimator of any parameter theta that happens to be unbiased and efficient, then what from here directly we can derive it, the variance of this one is unbiased and estimator. Okay, so variance of that theta hat, the estimator, it would be equal to 1 by Fisher information, 1 by this one, due to these two property. First property unbiasedness, and second property efficient estimator. So that's way, and we know that this is the lower bound. That means this quantity would be always less than equal to for variance of any estimator of theta, any estimator of theta. So it really here this one is easily saying that if there is an estimator which happens to be efficient and unbiased, then by default it would be the estimator with least variance. That variance would be 1 by Fisher information. So that's where it is coming. So that derivation is already given here like this way. Now I will talk about again that few estimator for maximum likelihood estimator for exponential distribution, and we'll try to establish that Cramer-Raw lower bound here. First, we need to estimate those estimator for exponential random variable, exponential distribution or exponential random variable. So we are having a random sample of size n from exponential distribution with unknown parameter 1 by lambda. Here lambda we are not taking, here 1 by lambda we are taking. So generally you might have already seen the what distribution of exponential random variable. It was lambda into e to the power negative of lambda x. Okay, and you can take that it is this distribution is defined only for a non-negative value of x, so you can take here unit step function. If you want to put distribution of uh, exponential random variable in unified form, then this is the definition. Otherwise, if x is greater than or equal to 0, then we will have distribution value of density lambda into e to the power minus lambda time x, and when x is less than 0, then density would be 0. So that you know, so just avoid that bifurcated form. We are putting here unit step function u of x. Okay, so same thing is coming here, but remember that in this hypothesis function, this exponential hypothesis function, what we observe that the parameter is not lambda, parameter is actually reciprocal of lambda, it is 1 by lambda. So just simply just have to be attentive what kind of parameter is involved there. Okay, so we have to find here estimate maximum likelihood estimator. So we have taken a sample of size n, that means we will have a likelihood function as a joint function of n variable. Okay, and that joint function easily we can calculate it, compute it through that IID approach of this sampling, that as a product of the individual density. So it is coming like this, as a product of individual density, and here we have to get over from this product in order to simplify it. So we are taking logarithmic and we are defining log likelihood. So log likelihood is taking this structure, very simple kind of a structure. I have already taken it in simplified word summation. So it's summation in summation in product would be converted into summation. In that process you will come across to see the sample mean and simple structure you will get it. X is talking about this n vector. Okay, what is sample mean? You know that that one is talking about summation of uh, xi up to xn divide by sample size, that happens to be n. That is the sample mean. So simple representation I have taken. I have skipped many terms here. After this simplification, directly you can see that this representation is coming directly from here, only one. Okay, after that what we'll do, we'll try to find first Fisher matrix, Fisher information. Okay, so how we can find? So one approach I had already discussed about that Fisher information. We find it as a negative of expectation of second derivative of uh, likelihood, log likelihood function. So we are finding like this way: second derivative of log likelihood. So in short, also we can write it ln log likelihood function with respect to parameter theta. Second derivative we are taking. Okay, this one is, there is one more simplification. That one is actually primary definition of this log likelihood function, or what is that one? That one is talking about expectation of first derivative of log likelihood with respect to theta, a square of actually first derivative. It will come as square of first derivative of a square of first derivative of log likelihood expectation of a square of. So how it is coming? So the derivation is coming. Why? Because actually this one actually variance of directly you can say that this one is actually variance of first derivative of log likelihood. Why? So easily you can verify, you can take as a homework. If you try to find expectation of first derivative of log likelihood, then expectation of this first derivative of log likelihood, it happens to be 0. You can verify this uh, and take as a homework for even this one is exponential. You can verify it for that Bernoulli example. What Bernoulli example I had, Bernoulli distribution with unknown parameter, what I had taken, you can verify for that. So if you try to find expectation of first derivative of log likelihood, and then it would be just equal to 0. And we know that what is the definition of variance. Variance is, we can express variance of a random variable as a difference of second moment and a square of first moment. That first moment happens to be mean. So square of expectation of this it is second moment expectation of x square minus a square of first expectation, that happens to be mean of the corresponding random variable. So we always try to calculate variance through this approach, and we can see it here like this way. Here what is here the expectation of this first derivative of log likelihood is 0, and hence we can say that variance of first derivative, it would be uh, equal to just expectation of second moment. So that's where this term is coming, and hence also we can say that variance of first derivative is actually your Fisher information. And if you further simplify it, then it will also take this form. So both all these are giving same value. So whichever easy to find here, if you go for finding second order derivative, there are involvement of n number of terms, so you will face problem. So what you do, you can go just find first derivative and take a square and just simplify things, and easily you will get your information, Fisher information. So here what would be Fisher information? Just you have to find a square of derivative, first order derivative of log likelihood function, and just do all this simplification. You will come to see that the expectation of this one, the square of log likelihood, it is coming uh, n square by lambda square uh, times this quantity. And what is this one? It is talking about expectation of a square of second moment minus time expectation of x. All these if you simplify, so here this what this one is sample mean, and we know that sample mean is always what it is unbiased estimator. So what would be value of this one? Value of this one would be lambda, and just do simplification, and you will see that the value of Fisher information, it is coming n by lambda square. So this is the value of Fisher information. So easily we can see that it is giving bound over variance of the estimator of this lambda. Lambda here in place of theta I have taken notation lambda. So just put it lambda, it's theta itself. So lower bound of the variance, or you can put it later, you can convert it into variance of estimate of lambda, that means estimate of 1 by lambda, estimate of 1 by lambda. So you can put like that variance of estimate of 1 by lambda. So here you can put hat, lambda hat, so that you are getting bound for this one. So it is for exponential distribution, that how you can find Fisher information, and that definitely that will serve as a lower bound. Okay, so further we will see efficiency here. So for what is happening, that if you are having a parameter lambda, okay, so definitely this is a parameter of the distribution. If you take a function of that parameter, again that some function like a square or cubic, that remain in a parameter, that would be another kind of parameter. So do you find a lower bound for estimate of that function of parameter? Can you find? So we can find it, it is very simple to find. So again it would be again a parameter. So if you're taking a squaring of lambda, that lambda square if you take, so we can say that here we can find lower bound of this one very easily. How you can find? we can find it here like this way. Simplification, if you simplify, just what you do, you have already calculated Fisher information, and here function, this function is a very nice function of lambda. So do a square and take find the first derivative and take a square, and if you simplify, you are getting like this way. This is the quantity. And what is that? Right now we don't know this one is whether it is a efficient estimator or not, or whether it is unbiased estimator or not. We don't know all those. So what this one is the lower bound, and the variance of the estimate of this one's uh, lambda square, variance of estimate of lambda square, simply just I will call it theta 2 hat. So variance of theta 2 hat, it would be provided by the lower bound, would be provided by this quantity easily. That this one is directly coming from, it is just function of one variable kind of thing. So that's why first derivative it is coming. That we had already seen that it is just simple derivation of Cramer law lower bound. Okay, now question is coming that we are defining another estimator. Okay, we are defining, this is another estimator we are defining, and if you try to verify, definitely it would be an unbiased estimator for lambda square. It would be an unbiased estimator. I am not doing that verification part, I am talking about that lower bound criteria. Okay, so if you're trying to find expectation of that lambda square, just find it like this way, and that expectation of that w square and expectation w in order to define variance of w. So if you calculate variance of w, it would be 5 lambda square by n, and you can see that this quantity is always greater than this lower bound of the that variance of estimator of lambda square, that we denoted by theta 2. Theta 2 is the estimator of lambda square, and lambda is known to us, so that's why I'm talking about theta 2 hat. Okay, so easily we can see that the variance of this new estimator, what we had already defined from the sample, and the variance is, it is having higher variance than the lower bound that one is defined by Cramer law. Okay, so we can easily say that this one is an unbiased estimator but inefficient. So this one is the converse of the previous, that what I had told, that if you are having unbiased estimator and that happens to be efficient, then it always satisfy that that happens to be estimator with least variance, and converse was not true. So you can see it here, like here this w is an unbiased estimator of lambda square, but this one is not efficient. Why? But variance of this estimator is greater than the lower bound. So that is the example of, or simply counter example, converse of this one. So the Fisher information for lambda for the joint likelihood function is n times, simply we can say that n times the Fisher information for lambda. Also this one is just one result I'm talking about, and you can verify it, that Fisher information for lambda, you can verify, just consider this one as a homework, you can verify it yourself. So here just we are having few minutes, so just I need to finish the consistency of an maximum likelihood estimator. So here just I will talk about asymptotic nature of that maximum likelihood estimator. So what are the asymptotic consistency? It is talking about asymptotic nature, that when sample size happens to be very large and tends to infinity, that scenario is coming with respect to consistency. Okay, so suppose we are having a random sample of size n from any distribution with unknown parameter theta. We don't know that what is the true value of theta. So we are having just sample of size n. So from that sample of size n, we come up with one maximum likelihood estimator theta hat using likelihood function. So you can say that it is MLE of theta, maximum likelihood estimator of theta. Okay. So after that, what we will see that we will say this maximum likelihood estimator of theta, it would be asymptotically consistent if it is convergent in probability to theta. So same convergent in probability, that means we are defining limit of probability that estimated maximum likelihood estimator capital theta hat, it is epsilon away from true value of theta is equal to 0. So again I would like to draw it like this way. Theta would be somewhere here. Just define a small what we call it epsilon ball near about theta. So this right hand side point, it would be theta plus epsilon. Left hand side point would be theta minus epsilon. So what is the probability in large run of n, that means when n tends to 0, what is the probability that our estimated value of theta, that capital theta hat, is away from epsilon, away from, that means not in this epsilon ball. What is the probability that if the probability that cap that capital theta hat is not falling in this interval, that means epsilon away from this interval, then this theta, then we say that corresponding estimator would be what, consistent. If it is equal to 0, then and vice versa also we can say in equivalent way that what is the probability that in long run of n, that this capital theta hat, it falls in this epsilon neighborhood of theta. And if the probability is equal to 1, then we say that theta hat is asymptotically consistent, or simply we can say that consistent with theta. In large sample, it is consistent with theta. Okay. And again, if you are trying to find expectation of theta hat, but you don't know the distribution, so you have to talk about asymptotic nature of the expectation of theta, capital theta hat. If in long run this one is converging to theta, then we can say that this theta hat is asymptotically unbiased. Okay. Now third result is coming asymptotic in nature. It is talking about that you are having theta hat, you do a standardization, that will deviate it from the true mean and divide by the variance of the estimator, the maximum. Okay, so in that process you are getting a standardized estimator. So this standardized estimator, we don't know the distribution of this one, but one thing we can take it benefit of central limit theorem. What does it say? It say that this standardized estimator, it is going to converge to a standard normal random variable in distribution. So that's way, if you are someone is willing to calculate probability related with this left hand side quantity, so it is very much easy to approximate that probability with the help of this z, a standard normal random variable. So that's where it is just one application of it is just central limit theorem, what I told, that it is part of central limit theorem. So this maximum likelihood estimator is also satisfying central limit theorem. This one, this is just one convergence in distribution, what we are calling it. So it is all about today's lecture. In next lecture we will cover different things, like we'll go to discuss about interval estimation. And if you are having any question,